This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, you're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, also known as OLP. OLP covers a wide range of topics, with the core being the mini-truck scene, BMX, skateboarding, hip-hop, culture, 80s, 90s, you name it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our weekly podcast. Make sure you subscribe via your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Jason ODB, and I approve this message. Our Lifestyle, the podcast, is brought to you by Custom Car Show Productions, which includes these annual shows: Orange Beach Invasion, March in Orange Beach, Alabama at The Wharf, Scraping the Coast, mid to late June in Biloxi, Mississippi, Sicknick, August in Gonzales, Baton Rouge, Louisiana at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center, Bayou Showdown, mid-November in Slidell, Louisiana. Each of these shows can be found on Instagram and Facebook. Get out there and support the scene. Also, Sparkles Detail, which holds their annual Lowdown show in Homestead Hollow in mid-June each year. Have the clean team that supports the scene detail your ride at the events they attend nationwide. SparklesDetail.com or at Sparkles Detail on Instagram. Make sure you tell them Our Lifestyle, the podcast, sent you. Enjoy this episode.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting.
Yo, it's ODB, and I'm going to add this segment in here before we get into the standard audio that you guys are used to. Mike and I recorded a little bit earlier in the week, and on Thursday morning, we, the truck and automotive community, if you will, woke up to some sombering news. Now, some of you guys probably saw it on Wednesday night, which it looked like Jimmy Graham of Jimmy's Rod and Customs had posted it. But it's Thursday. I'm recording this audio, and a very sad thing. Jennifer Lacey. I think she went by Jen for the most part, but Jen Lacey, she has left us, and it's a sad thing. I know I met Jen through the truck scene. She was really passionate about her truck over the course of time, and I know Jimmy and her were really good friends, and they were together for I think Jimmy said in his post 17 years of his life. So I just wanted to take a moment and, remember her. She was someone that, again, the word passionate doesn't necessarily even sum up, the passion that she literally had for the scene. And I'm looking here at a mini-truckin magazine. I was actually working on something else this week and kind of been back and forth between issues and, digging stuff out and this and that. And this was one that always what I thought was pretty awesome, November 2005. And although she'll be, I think, in the truck community, remembered for this iconic truck that Scraping Customs and Jimmy and Shane really built, that might be what she's remembered for. But if you ever had a chance to talk with her, as I did at shows, she liked to talk about a lot of stuff, JFK. I know my dad and I, Papa Smurf, rest in peace to him, about 10 years ago, May 2009, we were up at Unite, and we just had a good time, man, sitting under the tent. I think Mike was there, Jimmy was there, Shane, the whole crew, if I remember correctly. But my dad and I, we were talking to Jen about all kinds of cool stuff, and she was telling us about her dad and things like that. And we ended up leaving that show a little bit early for a trip that my dad and I ended up taking up to Alabama for the rest of that night and into Saturday. But it's just a sad thing, and it's, I think, best summed up. I know John Turner just earlier this week on Wednesday, I think it was, he posted about a beloved guy that had passed away, and I want to also just mention Bruce Rivera. He was someone that, you know, many guys knew in the Florida truck scene and really nationally, and John kind of summed it up and said, you know, it had been 12 years since Bruce passed, but I think this is the most important. No one is promised tomorrow, and you know, I just thoughts and prayers go out to her entire family and all of her friends and people that she met through the scene. I think on top of that as well, her truck, which again I think is how a lot of folks will remember her. It's very cool to see the truck scene come together. So many people are posting photos of the truck. We started the hashtag RIP Jennifer Lacy, Lacy, and you know, if you've got some photos of Jen or of the truck or a memory, post it up and tag us. We'll be sharing some of those. One of my favorite photos of her is she's standing in front of, I think it's maybe the plaque of her truck. I don't think it's a calendar, but she's got this big smile and she kind of has her hand up like a model, you know, and you can just see, I'm looking at the photo that Dave Schulman had posted. You could just see the smile and how stoked she was. After they had finished the truck, if I remember correctly, Jimmy told me like Joe Greaves had spent the better half of an entire day shooting photos of the iconic truck. And to this day, it's awesome to see how many people say, man, it's still the baddest S10 built. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's, again, that's not what we're here to talk about. You know, the trucks are kind of a byproduct of who we are and an expression of who we are. But she just was an awesome person. You know, she was full of energy, and I wish I had gotten to know her better. But overall, just wanted to kind of take a moment and say rest in peace to Jennifer Lacy. Gone far too soon. From what I can tell, she passed on Wednesday, July 10th. And I'll go ahead and read here what Jimmy had posted. He said, "This is probably the hardest thing I have ever done. We lost Jennifer Lacy today. Even though I wasn't with her today, she was 17 years of my life, and I miss her dearly. I'm thankful for all the great memories that we had. I'm happy that she's no longer sick and in pain. I hope that she found Louie, I think it was, today, and they watch over and take care of her. So, you know, take care of us here and whatnot. But, again, it's not an easy thing. And what I've learned from being in the automotive scene, in the truck scene in particular for so long, is that when things like this happen, we all tend to come together. And it's great to see that a lot of folks remember her. She did touch a lot of folks. It was amazing to see all of the pages on Facebook and Instagram that are changing their cover photo and, you know, just posting about it. So rest in peace. And then also rest in peace to Bruce. You know, I know his anniversary was 12 years ago. So no one is given, you know, guaranteed the next day, as John Turner said, big juice, and just go out there and do the best you can. But with that being said, it's not easy to transition into, you know, the happy times. But Mike and I did record this audio earlier in the week. You'll hear Mike and I talk. You know, we said we're going to keep it short and sweet, and, you know, we go almost an hour. But we also have Adam Tripp. He'll talk to us about the Spark Show, which is about a month away. And then after I provide a few additional updates later on, I do keep that short and sweet, about 12 minutes. Then we'll roll into John Tondro, which is an amazing guest. So rest in peace, Jennifer Lacy, Airhead Nation, mini truck scene. Just keep doing what you guys do. Stay positive, and you know, let's come together in this tough time for a lot of folks. All right, we out here. Peace.
How long will they move it? Yeah, it's for my nigga Kato. It's still on, nigga. We got a thug life. Thug life. How long will they shit for the boy? Yeah, nigga. Tupac in this motherfucker. All my homies drinking. drinking liquor, tears in everybody's eyes. Niggas cried.
Yo, it's Our Lifestyle, the podcast, episode 135. This is a reminder that this episode is brought to you by Sicknick 2019. That's sponsored by Sparkles Detail. It's August 24th and 25th, 2019, at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center there in Gonzales, Louisiana. Search Sicknick, Siknic, on Facebook, or follow Sicknick Show on Instagram for more. And we've got more information coming up on this episode about this badass show. But first, we got Miggity Mike, the mayor. He's in the house. What's going down, my friend?
ODB, so good to be back on here with you and the Airhead Nation. I am feeling, I'd say 99.9% better than I did last week, brother. And appreciate the Airhead Nation reaching out and checking on me. But yeah, I did. I had a really bad cold and those good old summertime blues, I guess you could call it. And but hey, it's down here in good old Southwest Florida where it rains every stinking day. So hey, thoughts and prayers go out to Louisiana, by the way, since we're talking about the weather. Hunker down. I've seen a bunch of pictures already where New Orleans is pretty much underwater. So hey, wish you guys nothing but the best.
Yeah, 1,000%. And the same goes, I know the earthquakes in California, they kind of came in between some of the recording. So it's, for some of us, we kind of feel like, oh, man, there's an earthquake. That's not where we live. We don't even think about it. But a lot of people were displaced, and there's a lot going on over there.
Yes, sir. Thanks for mentioning that because I did forget that.
No worries at all. And hopefully you're feeling better. I know, and I hate to joke around about this, but, were you out there doing some of the dirty deeds? I know that's a wrestling move, which was by Dean Ambrose. That was originally a face buster, but it was changed into the double underhook DDT. So I know you're out there always getting crazy, Mike. You just got to slow down a little bit and tap them brakes, dog.
Dude, have you been talking to Jason B again? You and your wrestling.
I do, man. Yeah, man.
You must be talking with Jason B again.
Yeah, he said Dom came off the upper ropes the other day and did a back deal right into the couch, man. I was like, damn, dude, Dom, he's always on the rise, though, man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is one of those future mini truckers, man, and he can't wait. I can tell you that right now.
That's it for sure, man. Well, this episode, you guys are wondering what is stage one. We've got John Tondro on. Now, John was the owner of Stage One, and believe it or not, he talks about being in high school thinking about starting the company, which he did in the midst of graduating in that time period of his life. So John is an old school mini trucker. You guys that have been mini trucking for a long time, reading the magazine or just involved with the lifestyle, you know John's name, you know Stage One Customs for sure. So our title of this episode is a little play off of that. Also, he's tied into many other aspects of the automotive world. So you start talking about extreme off-roading. He's done everything from minis all the way to that. And there's a cool story in between. So Ruben Arteaga, big ups to him. He helps us, Mike, obviously with that interview. And he's our connect there, West Coast connect, if you will. And he's been really helping out. So big ups to Riggedy Ruben in the house.
Absolutely. Ruben's always looking out for those new interviewers and interviewees for Our Lifestyle, the podcast. And basically, I think, we ought to have a section on here. It's called the interview couch, kind of like the casting couch. And you got to go through Ruben before you can get to ODB and get on to Our Lifestyle, the podcast.
Yeah, he's definitely the, what do they call it in the wrestling world, the booker. I think
the booker.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I enjoyed the interview. John was like, look, nothing's off limits. So it was pretty cool. We talked about some of the old school stuff, but I think whether you're an old school guy or you're new school, you're going to appreciate this. And I tell people all the time, I know it's not always respected these days, but you got to respect those that come before you and whatever you love. So if it's music or it's mini trucks or it's football, you got to know your history a little bit. You can't be walking around going, who the hell is Barry Sanders? I'm the man now. It's like, wait, hold on. Pump your brakes now. It's like, what? So, Mike, on the last episode, the saga continues. We're always trying to come up with cool concepts. And, I'm a big Wu-Tang fan, and we obviously that was kind of a play off of their album title, which I loved. And bottom line, the message that we were sending, Mike, is we got sideways, fishtailing into 2019, the second half of the year, and we got the pedal stomped. I did want to throw out there a couple of the names that we're hoping to have in the next month or so. We talked about having Steve Nielsen on, so eventually we will. We're trying to, he's super busy. So Alter Images back in the day, he's an example. And then we've given out some other names recently, but I think what's cool is the other name that is maybe going to be on the next episode is Cope Kessler. So folks that remember Cope's epic blue van on the cover of Mini-Truckin magazine, that's an epic story here, and that's an epic story there. And I think what's key is, he's been tied to the automotive scene a long time. So, Mike, we've got a lot of guests lined up, and we're super stoked, man.
Oh, absolutely, and definitely want to be on the lookout for this weekend, because I'm really interested to hear this interview come Friday.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good stuff, dude. So, thanks for all the support. We've had a lot of people suggest new names, and we do add them. And, we certainly appreciate, trying to kind of get through the list, so to speak.
No, and hey, just like the other day, guys sending messages to us and asking us, hey, have you had this one on? Have you interviewed this person? Because I'm not going to say the names of these people because they might be future guests. But just the other day, I can't remember who it was, because I think it came off of Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, and they asked if we had a certain person on, and I think you replied back to them. But guys, keep those. If there's people that you guys want to hear, we got a long list, believe me. But if there's guys, girls, businesses, whatever that you guys want to hear and hear ODB interview, and send us a message and let us know.
Yeah, definitely, because we will add it. And there's times, and we're kind of going through this right now with a few folks, and we mentioned recently, like, there was one of the homies, he his child's born, and he's going through the life stuff, and obviously the podcast can wait, no big deal. But then we kind of skip that person, we go to the next, and we try to interweave them all in. But by all means, yeah, the list continues to grow. We've got a lot of good names and suggestions, and we appreciate that. It makes our kind of role in this whole thing a little bit easier.
Or if you know Ruben, send a message to Ruben, because it's got to all go through Ruben first, guys.
Yeah, the Booker, man. The Booker, that's his new nickname, whether he likes it or not, right? So the general updates brought to you by our friends over at HammerDWeekendWear. That's HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. Just finished a pre-order. We've seen some of the highlights of some of the future shirts coming. They're going to be sick. But go out there, support the homie, and throw OLP into the notes when you order. You never know, Riggedy Ron is known to throw in a couple extra things. We appreciate HammerDWeekendWear. Now, Mike, I'll start this one off because I know typically I'll throw it to you. Really, what I just mentioned is my key update, that I did get a chance to see a sneak peek of what Ron has cooking up, and what he's chefing up, right? Like Raekwon from the Wu-Tang, and his ideas are awesome. I love where his brand is going, and the artwork looks really good. I know it's easy to say that with everyone, but man, he continues to raise the bar. And I know Graphic Disorder and Eric, those guys are intricate to the whole scene. They do a great job, and they make businesses their role and their kind of the workload that they have a little bit easier because they make it so easy. So that's my main update that I kind of wanted to share. That dude Hammered has got the pedal to the floor, and I just really cannot wait for the Airhead Nation to see what he continues to launch, man.
Oh, absolutely, because, man, like you had said, we both got sneak peeks on things to come, and Ron's doing it and doing it big, man. With him and his real builds over there, he's making shit happen, and really excited for him, and just so glad to be working with Graphic Disorder, because they're making us all look good. And on that note, Justin over at Tuckin, he just launched his new shirt, once again made by Graphic Disorder. And guys, make sure you guys go out and support these small businesses, and because these are the guys that go to the shows week in and week out. They pay their vendor fees, and they're there to support the scene. They're there to support these are the guys that are going out and spending that gas money, spending, time away from their family and going out there and trying to make a living and trying to make extra income, supporting the scene. So make sure you guys are supporting those guys. And, shout out to Tony Moore. I'm really looking forward, thank all you guys that support our Lifestyle the podcast. But Tony Moore over there at Asphalt Army as well. Another one of those guys that supports the scene and, goes to shows and helps those promoters with their shows. So make sure you guys are out there supporting the real and supporting those that are out there supporting the shows and the scene.
Yeah, definitely. And with Tony, he often will pre-order every shirt that we produce, and I recently ordered something from his site. His site is very easy to use on asphaltarmy.com. And, although we primarily promote other brands, I would highly encourage folks that, like Mike said, go out there and look, and spread the wealth a little bit around. It's not hard to order a shirt or a hat from a different company. And there's a lot of good folks out there. And he's a big supporter behind the scenes of the podcast, and we appreciate him. So good stuff there. But, What about you, Mike? Anything else going on that you kind of wanted to share under the general updates, homie?
General updates. I tell you what, next weekend I'm looking forward to it, brother. So we got to get together and talk about this. But
oh boy,
the Murrays are going on a family vacation.
Oh and my God. Is this like the new Griswold movie, like a 2019, 2020 deal?
Except for this time, we're heading to Mexico. So really looking forward to that. So basically trying to play catch up. And definitely got a surprise coming for you and the Airhead Nation here real short.
Oh, boy.
Real soon. We're making some deals. And we'll have an announcement here real soon.
All right.
So just stay tuned on that one.
Cool. Well, next is the podcast updates brought to you by our friends over at the West Coast Influence. Visit minitruckfilm.com. We posted earlier this week and reinforced that if you're a mini trucker and you don't own this DVD or Blu-ray, you're straight slipping. Get out there, show some support. They're a big player in the whole Mini Truck Hall of Fame, so big ups to Radar and what he does. Now, Mike and I talked a little bit about this off the air, but what we're going to do is we're going to launch the new shirt, our new artwork in our new shirt pre-order on Mini-Truckin' Mother Effin' Monday. And, some are thinking, hey, all right, we just had another shirt. But, hey, this shirt is, it's going to set the bar, I think, Mike. It really is. And not only is that artwork going to be available on stickers, shirts, of course, and banners, but it's also going to be the face, Mike, of our new, or not our new podcast, of our podcast, our lifestyle. Because, Mike, when you see that artwork, what do you think, man?
It takes me back, brother. It absolutely takes me back to those. Everybody talks about the good old days, and and I'm like sitting here thinking to myself, well, why sit here and reminisce about the good old days? Why don't we make these days that we have? We got tons of good shows to go to. All you got to do is get out there and support these shows and have a good time at these shows, hanging out with your buddies, make new friends. Dude, we're all out here doing the same damn thing. So go out there, enjoy it, and quit sitting at home or going on Facebook or Instagram and remembering the good old days. Let's go out there and make new memories and make these shows and make these new memories just as good as the old ones.
Hells yeah. So I think, Mike, you couldn't have said it better. It's like this shirt is, we thank Graphic Disorder, we thank Eric, we thank the whole team. It's a team effort over at graphicdisorder.com. If you need artwork or you need, whatever that they offer, hit their website. Everything's out there. And really stoked about it. Couldn't be more happy. And that's our main podcast update. I just know that when you guys go out there and you support the cause, it helps so much. And, we appreciate everyone pre-ordering. Again, you're going to have the option of the sticker. What we are going to do, though, we are going to give one sticker for each pre-order. So Like, let's say you pre-order 3 shirts, you're going to get 1 sticker for free. That's a $5 value. And then let's say the artwork is so epic, you're like, I need 5 stickers. Then just order 4 more. You're already going to get the 1 free. Then on top of that, you'll have the banner option. And so, the trifecta is the banner, the sticker, the shirt, you name it. So I think it'll go down as one of the baddest shirts in our entire scene, and super stoked about it. Now, the scene updates, which are brought to you by our friends over at Sparkles Detail, have Tim, Tanya, and the team, the clean team that supports the scene, clean your ride at one of these shows nationwide. And Custom Car Show Productions, as you guys know, that includes Orange Beach Invasion, Scraping the Coast, Sicknick, and Bayou Showdown. So, Mike, the first one, I kind of forgot to mention this. I did give an awesome nod over to Dave Schulman. He's a supporter of the podcast and a previous guest. But Dave, obviously a lot of focus right now is on the fact that, the Navigator, the new Lincoln is on the rise. But he also, with Precious Metal, I don't think I mentioned that he's also on the cover of a current magazine, and I believe it's Dub Magazine. So big ups to him, man.
Dude, he's always doing it. He's always doing it well. And I look forward to seeing this Navigator laid out. It's brand spanking new. I believe the video I seen the other day, what was it, 11, 10, 12, 14 miles, whatever. Yep. I mean, less than 15 miles on the damn thing. And, of course, he's taking it over there to Oklahoma. I forgot the name of that little shop over there in Oklahoma. I don't think he's ever done anything before. Do you know the name of that shop?
Yeah, PP, I think.
Man, I can't remember the damn name of it.
Fat
What? Let me. Oh, that's it. Fat Babs. Just kidding, guys. Just a joke. It was a bad one, but I was just kidding. So, of course, taking it over. And God forbid he's not giving him much time before SEMA, though, is he there, Jay?
No, he's definitely not, man. So, we'll have to see, how all that comes together. But with a lot of these SEMA builds, it is crazy to think how far folks start in the, late in the year. But I think that's almost like they need the pressure. You know what I mean? So,
and the pressure is definitely on, brother.
Yeah, it is, man. So big ups to everything he's got going on. I think I mentioned on the last one, I think that the truck Precious Metal is up for sale. So get at Diggity Dave if you got the loot. Like Biggie said, give me the loot, give me the loot. That's what Dave's saying.
I'm a bad man.
Yeah, and I think I want to mention, I think you've been listening to some LL Cool J because you keep saying, like, doing it well. Like, are you thinking of that doing it well? Maybe that verse or something, that hook. You got maybe some LL on the iPhone there.
Well, I'm taking some, out of your book there, brother. Taking some pictures out of your book. You keep popping up with all these, so, keep popping up like every single day, So, I got to do the same thing, brother.
Yeah, dude.
Talking about scene updates, have you seen, talking about, a real build by Hammered over there? Have you seen Big Brown doing his big with the Ford Excursion, doing his tour? And actually, I think he just stopped in Yellowstone Park today.
Yeah, brother. Brad Bossman. We've had him on when his truck raced the cover of a magazine, AZ Draggers with a Z on the end. Dude, it was cool that Ron posted it up because obviously you mentioned Big Brown on a shirt. But yeah, man, dude, this guy takes the whole mini-truckin thing to the next level. We talk about going to shows and getting out there and doing some other things. Dude, he's like road tripping Willie, man.
You are not lying, brother. And I think it's pretty fucking cool. I love it. I'm following it. And, hey, safe travels. And he's doing it and doing it big, brother. There I go again.
Yeah, man. There you go. So check it out. Also, what about the next issue of All Time Low magazine? I say the next. I mean, like, the current issue. Dude, I received my copy last week. What do you think, man?
I think my mailman doesn't like me. Or either that or he just likes the damn magazine. Because I didn't get mine until Tuesday. I don't know what the hell's going on. But I come home. Shannon had already gotten home and gotten the mail. And, it's up on the counter like it always is. And there it is at the bottom of the pile. All Time Low magazine. And holy shit, S10 took over for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like they came through with like a hostile. They're like, dude, a hostile takeover. The S10s are on the rise, and dude, they've graced so many covers of magazines over the years. But it's awesome to me to see the quality is still there. That dude, S10s are just fucking awesome. You guys know I love them.
Dude, you are not lying. And just big ups to the whole crew over at All Time Low Magazine, because the magazine just keeps getting bigger, thicker, more features, more show coverage. And I mean, props to All Time Low for continuously, the consistency is just, it's on point, brother, because the shows had just happened and they're already in, show coverage is already in a print magazine. It's nonstop. It's so badass. It's awesome. And I'm just so glad that we have teamed up with All Time Low Magazine. And those guys, the Damian Davises, the props to, Rich and Beth and Corey. And, I can sit here and go on and on and on with all these guys' names, Michelle and Jonathan and Chad. And they keep killing it every single issue. So guys, if you are not on board with All Time Low Magazine and getting that subscription, where do they go, Jay, to get that subscription?
atlmagazine.com, or look up All Time Low Magazine on Instagram and click the link in the bio. Order some merchandise, including shirts. Magazine, of course, is a given. You got to get it. Order 2 issues if you can, because you'll get 2 posters in this one. I think on everyone got 2 posters. But then
yes, sir.
You can hang all 4 up because, right, it's double-sided, and it's hard to make the decision on which side to hang up.
Exactly, dude. And just that whole the article. I loved the article this issue with Aaron et al. Beth, great job. Loved it. And, of course, our boy Josh Ellis in there with the OLP plaque. That just great, man. Him and Lo Migo in the background, freaking awesome, dude. Absolutely love it. And, dude, you did your flip through. So if you guys, make sure you guys are following us on Instagram. Make sure you guys are following our Instagram. What's the channel called, Jay?
Yeah, so they can just follow us on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll normally see, I forget how it looks on Facebook, but yeah, on Instagram for sure, you'll see that IGTV upload. We're about 2,000 views on it, but to Mike's point, we can go up to 10 minutes, and that makes it easy for us to do those flip-throughs.
So definitely, if you have not seen the magazine yet, you're on the fence, make sure you check out Jay's flip-through of All Time Low Magazine, issue 19, and you guys, you're going to want it because this thing is just badass, absolutely badass. And if you're an S10 lover, good Lord, S10, the S series, because it's got the blazer. I mean, you do not want to miss this. And yes, like you said, Jay, we got 2 pull-out posters.
Yeah, when the new magazines come, Maddie always goes, "Oh, look, it's Nudie Magazine Day for you guys, for you movie fans out there." So that's what we call it in our house. And yeah, when it showed up, and I was like, "Oh, and it's double wrapped, man. You got the outside wrapper, you got the inside wrapper." I mentioned that on the flip through on Instagram. So big ups, we love it. We're gonna actually go through a little bit more in depth even next episode, which I think will be cool. We'll kind of go through and acknowledge again some of the photographers and some of the maybe behind the scene things, but we always enjoy those new issues. Now, during this segment, we're talking about scene updates. We're actually going to, in just a moment when we get to the shows, we're actually going to call Adam Tripp from the Spark Show. And I think it's important. We're about 4 weeks out, and we got to start really driving home the fact that you guys need to be in Sevierville, Tennessee for the 6th annual show. So more to come on that in just a moment. Now, what's hot on social media, Mike? All things aside, right? We're not going to get into the political stuff of it, but this is brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. If you want some cool items to wear for the family, go out to garagegearclothing.com. All together, of course. Biggity boom, order some shirts, right? Everything from minis, dualies, side-by-sides, on a shirt. Really, really cool stuff. Stickers, love their logo. Kind of I call it Art Deco. I don't know if it actually is, but it's kind of that Art Deco looking cool garage get out there, show the homies some love. GarageGearClothing.com. So, Mike.
Hey Jay,
Yep.
with that being said, we got to give a shout out to Mrs. Garage Gear because she just ordered and I shipped it out her shirt down with OLP. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Mrs. Garage Gear.
Yeah, she's getting them orders down, man. She gets them out quick too. I swear mine was like overnight. I was like, I don't know how they do it, but no, they did. they do great, man. So big ups to Garage Gear Clothing.
Thank you for the support.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mike, I think the biggest thing, what's been trending on social media, is the women's soccer team. And I hate to say it, I wanted to watch the game. And, I didn't get a chance. I was out doing some other stuff. And, the wife watched it with the in-laws. And, dude, big ups, man. I mean, it's huge what they did.
Absolutely, it's huge what they did. But, like you said, not going to get into it. But she's got a view. She's trying to get more people's attention, and she's doing it. I'm not even going to say her name, but everybody knows who I'm talking about. Yes, she can kick a ball. Yes, she can score goals. But dude, stand up for the national anthem. Put your hand across your chest, and do not disrespect the flag. Do not, especially if you're playing for the USA national soccer team. Don't do that, okay? If you want to get paid like the men, there's other ways of going about this. You don't have to do what you're doing. And I'm just glad to see that everybody else stayed true to their values and did their own thing and didn't follow suit.
Yeah, well, and I think just the key is that they're playing awesome. I think even Snoop chimed in the other day, and he said, there is a big, I think just on the money aspect is, like, they do need to pay the women. I think Maddie told me the other day, and I don't know, I didn't look this up, but she said like some of the people only make they make like $35,000 a year, and I know some people are going, well, man, that's a lot. But what's crazy is they do generate a lot of revenue. So yeah, I mean, all that aside, I think really what has to happen, not even to get into that side of it, but I do think that there's a gender pay gap, But that aside, I do think that that they did an awesome thing. I think it's their fourth time winning.
It's their second year in a row that
their second series in a row or whatever. And I know just the other day, just this week was the 20th anniversary. So very interesting that of the 99 win. So yeah, definitely crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, I some of us I don't like how the political stuff gets in with the sports. A lot of us are just play sports, but. It also, I think, is a little bit on the media because they keep pressing on these certain things. It's like, come on, So.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely feeding it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then some people are like, oh, they're over celebrating, and I'm going,
you can never over celebrate. I don't care what anybody.
Yeah,
says.
I mean, you see the freaking Boston when Boston wins the freaking World Series, or when they did. Everybody's popping champagne and stuff, but you can go out there and you can follow them. It's USWNT on Twitter, which is the U.S. Soccer Women's National Team or something, I guess it is. But, they're out there celebrating, and big ups to them.
Oh, absolutely. Just a couple things that I wanted to go over here real quick, too, Jay. Talking about the scene. Get decked. Okay, guys, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I don't know how you've missed it if you haven't. But they have been putting people's vehicles on skate decks because I've been seeing a lot of it with All Time Low magazine. And so go check out Get Decked, GetDecked, Get Decked. Follow their page. And, hey, if you guys want your ride on a skate deck, that's exactly what they're doing. And there's a lot of people doing it, and it's pretty freaking cool. So keep it up, guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's pretty cool stuff. I did see some of that making its rounds. So the show schedule is brought to you by All Time Low magazine, and I also want to give a huge nod here also to Feltham Fab. He's normally who is the name that we'll mention before the sponsors, but Feltham Fabrication. If you need custom painted items, go out Feltham FELTHAM_fab and look him up on Instagram. He's doing some cool stuff, which we'll talk about here also in a minute. But Relaxin in the Northwest, Mike, first up is The Awakening. And this is July 25th through the 28th of 2019 at the Oregon State Fairgrounds in Salem, Oregon. So go out there and follow Relaxin in the NW on Instagram. The show is The Awakening, and I think it's important that if you go out on YouTube, you also look up The Awakening show, right? And you can watch those videos as we've mentioned. Don't just take our word for it. The show is awesome. If you want to get up to the Oregon area at the Oregon State Fairgrounds, go out there and check it out. So next, we got The Sparks Show. So it's simple, right, Mike? It's The Sparks Show on Instagram. They're also on Facebook. They've been posting up some cool stuff, and we've reshared a few of those things. So we're happy to partner with Adam and the team. And speaking of which, we're going to bring Adam in now, which is Adam Tripp, and we're going to talk about the show that's coming up here August 9th through the 11th.
ODB, say hello to Mr. Adam Tripp.
What's going on, Adam?
What's happening, ODB?
Not too much. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, man.
Good. Well, Mike and I were just covering the show schedule, and we know that the show's coming up, but a lot of times the Airhead Nation, they don't want to just hear it from Mike and I. So, the show's coming up. We just mentioned the dates. Give us a high-level overview of a few things that you want to share about The Spark Show.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is our 6th annual Spark Show. So 6 years doing this. This is 4th year at the Sevier County Fairgrounds in Sevierville. And we've got August 9th, 10th, and 11th. So August 9th for Friday, we're going to do open up the showgrounds 9 a.m. A little bit different than last year. Usually it's just a pre-party, but we know a lot of showgoers have been itching to get in there on Friday and start the weekend early. So we're going to allow that and go ahead and start up registration and judging for Friday. Let that go until 6, then we're going to have the pre-party and have DJ Big Papa with some music going on, cornhole tournament. Stella's Tacos is going to be there slinging some tacos for everybody, and that's all sponsored by Relaxed Atmosphere. So Friday, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, very cool, man. And I know, like, a lot of people want to kind of know sometimes, like, what are some of the other things that they can do in the area, but I love the fact that you guys and some of the shows are starting to do this where Friday's becoming more of an integral day, right, especially with the little pre-party and stuff like that. But what would you recommend someone kind of getting into town? Do they, maybe come in early Friday and then get checked into your hotel and stuff like that and then come over to the show probably, right?
Absolutely. Friday, we want it to be a family environment. So if you're coming for the show, come Friday, Saturday. But if you're coming, a week ahead or even a week after, I've got a lot of families that are doing that, and tons to do out there. So tons of great places to eat, tons of attractions. Of course, you got Dollywood up there, which is kind of the Smoky Mountains version of Disney, sort of. So they've got some good rides and stuff up there to see. So. Tons of attractions, though. I mean, you can't go, 10 feet without finding something in Sevierville or Forge.
Well, hey, I say it all the time. It's the Orlando in the mountains. I drive in the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great strip, and we go up there sometimes just for a weekend just to get away. The island is cool, but what's even cooler is Saturday night. We're going to leave the show. Show will be over at 5. Everybody get something to eat, and then we're going to NASCAR Speed Park right there in Sevierville, not too far from the show. And they've got a ton of games. They've got games, they've got rock wall, and of course, we've got the gentleman's race with all the go-kart races. So we've got a pretty epic night planned for Saturday night. So that's where we'll be after the show.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And the thing, I know you guys have been doing a good job on social media, especially on Instagram, The Sparks Show with the underscore in between the and show. You guys mentioned that it's like the 30-day mark, right? So this is where we got to put the pedal down and start reinforcing to everyone that whether you're going to bring a ride out or maybe you're an hour, 2, 3, 5, 8, 12 hours away, if nothing else, go out to the show and be a showgoer. Support some of the vendors out there. To Adam's point, there's a lot of different places, venues. I know when I was up in Tennessee recently, I had never been to that area of the U.S., probably maybe driving through back when I was younger, but man, really got a chance to just enjoy it. Weather was a little bit cooler than Florida, so sometimes it's just good to get out of town, man.
Absolutely. Just like coming up this weekend for Southern Tradition. I can't wait to go see those guys. It'll be the first time that we're heading down and just going to support. Heard it's going to be a good turnout, and I don't have a ride that we're showing necessarily, but we're going to come down and see everybody, hang out with friends, and so absolutely. Even if you don't have a ride, come out to the fairgrounds. I think we had close to 800 spectators last year just come through the show. We had some guys post up some videos that had never even seen something like that, but saw it from the road. Come in and shot a really cool video for this guy's blog, and it's on YouTube, on the Spark Show on YouTube, so we can share that up. But man, lots of cool stuff going on for the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty badass, man. We're looking forward to covering it with our lifestyle, the podcast. So naturally, people can buy show shirts. Is there going to be any other merchandise that people can get their hands on at the show there, Adam?
Absolutely. We've got a whole great list of vendors that are going to be coming out, especially with Drop-'N Wear. They've got the show shirts. They're actually getting ready to print within the next week or so. And it's going to be similar to the flyer, if you've seen that on Instagram or Facebook. So he's putting the final touches on that now, and they always represent. And he's going to do maybe a couple colors, maybe a couple variations. So you'll have to wait till showtime to see that. But yeah, we'll have Drop-'N Wear. We've got Mini Truckers Union. Jason Bell will be out there slinging merch, maybe some flyers for next year's mini nats. Mm-hmm. We've got Low Label. Welch's Chop Shop will be there with all his metal art. And, of course, he's going to help out with a ton of the trophies this year, so we've got those in the works. And down to pinstriping and great food there with food from Borgasm and Stella's Tacos. And pinstriping from Madhouse Designs. And we've got a ton more coming out. We've even got some jewelry set up here for the ladies with some paparazzi jewelry. With many truckers even selling that. So, yeah, we've got a ton to come out for.
Now, Adam, let us know, fill us in about what this show is all about, and as far as who are you helping, and what's the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've partnered up with Pops for Patients, and what these are, the Funko Pop vinyl toys, and they actually gather these toys up, kid-friendly toys, take them out to our East Tennessee Children's Hospital, and donate these toys for these kids that are have maybe terminal illness or in the hospital quite a bit for whatever reason, and just try to put a smile on their face. So we donate those. We're going to have a toy vendor set up there that you can actually purchase those and donate. If you want to just have money to donate there, we'll actually have a vendor there to just do that for Pops for Patients. So we'll have a rep on hand. They just had a donation that they donated 1,060 between some local shops here in Tennessee, and I would love to beat that number. So we've got some people already collecting, and I know Michelle Boone, she's big with me on this. She's collecting quite a bit and has people sending them from all over when they find deals. So yeah, we definitely want to support Pops for Patients and help those kids, give them a smile.
Yeah, anytime that I hear of a great cause like that, man, it just makes me feel good, and it's awesome that there's people in the scene like yourself and the team that you have. I want to give a huge shout-out to Dizzy, and you guys are really doing an awesome thing, and it's more reason, it's more fuel for people to get out and go to shows, and some people are like, well, I don't have my ride finished yet. Still just go out there and, kind of do what you got to do, you know what I mean? It's for a good cause.
Absolutely, for a good cause, and this is a family-run show, and we like to include family in everything that we do. I couldn't do it without all of my crew and most of everybody's family, and I consider friends family. So yeah, big shout out to Dawn Dizzy Davis and the whole crew, even my whole mini-truckin family. So everybody helps out, even if they're helping with an award or just showing up as a spectator, no matter what it is. So I appreciate everybody.
Hey, Adam, last question for you, buddy, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Pre-registration is open right now, correct?
That's correct. It's July 31st. Right now we're just doing through PayPal. PayPal address sparksatthecafe@gmail, all spelled out. If you have any questions on that, shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd be happy to help out. That ends July 31st. And then Day of the show, $35, $5 spectator fee, and all kids are free.
Yeah, that's awesome. It can't get more easier than that, and that's great. We appreciate you kind of sharing the details. What we'd like to do, Mike, is have Adam and team back on maybe in about 2 weeks. So we're like T-minus 2 weeks, and then we could talk a little bit more about anything else that you want to share at that time, because obviously things tend to evolve, right? But, you guys have done a great job. I would also tell people, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you got any special hashtag, but I would assume that a lot of folks are going to use the Sparks with an S show together. So, type in that hashtag and follow it. That way, as all of these different media outlets are posting photos, including Our Lifestyle, the podcast, you'll get the firsthand updates from that hashtag.
Absolutely, and learn from the best. That's why I keep using them, just because you told me to, ODB.
Yeah, but we got to hashtag the world, man.
That's right.
No, that's good stuff. Well, Adam, we appreciate your time. Give Dizzy a fist bump for us, and you guys stay on the rise, and we'll be in contact, and we'll have you guys back on in a couple weeks.
Absolutely, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother.
Hey,
be
have
good.
a great night, brother.
All right, peace. So there you have it, Airhead Nation. I mean, the Spark Show right there. Those are the key updates from the man himself, Adam Tripp, with two P's, right? Tripp, man. He's not messing around. So I know, Mike, the next show after that is Sick Nick. So do you want to cover that one?
Absolutely, brother. Sick Nick 2019, brought to you by Sparkles Detail, the clean team that supports the scene. And this is going down August 24th through the 25th at Lamar Dixon Expo Center, Gonzales, Louisiana. Guys, the show shirts, freaking Fuel Market, every single year absolutely kills it, and they did once again. You got Bryce with severed ties and his badass GMC on the artwork this year. And then, of course, you can't forget Feltham Fab posted the video just earlier today, the sneak peek of the best ofs. So make sure y'all check that out. Greg Miller posted it. Feltham Fab posted it. So check out the event page. Hit the going button. Also check them out on Instagram. And right now, the pre-registration is open. So make sure you guys go pre-register for your inside spot. I believe it was $103 for the inside spot. And, of course, what goes down on the inside there, Jay?
Well, it goes down in the DM with the Freon poisoning. And that's a joke. You guys know there's no poisoning.
So make sure you guys go check out Sick Nick, Instagram, Facebook. Go hit that event page and make sure you guys hit the going button. SIKNIC
and Feltham Fab. Go out there and check out that video, right, Mike?
Yes, sir. Just posted up today.
Yeah, Feltham Fab killing it, and we're happy to partner with Jason. And, of course, what he's doing for the scene is pretty awesome. So big ups. Now, down for Dennis, you guys heard from Daryl Poe recently from East Tennessee Showdown. Now, in the coming weeks, we'll have him on, but this is what you got to, ask Siri or Google to remind you that the show is on September 14th. Okay, I've got the flyer right here in front of me. The artwork is epic. We'll talk to Daryl a little bit more about it when we have him on. Whether you are going out there for, bring the truck, or you're going to go just there to be a spectator, it is a memorial truck and car show, so it's for a good cause. There are 50-50 raffles going on. There's a lot of good sponsors, but just know that down DOWN number 4 and Dennis on Instagram is going to give you all the information there. It's in Princeton, WV, which is West Virginia. So look it up. If you're in the vicinity, get out there, support the scene. He's real deal Holyfield.
Absolutely. And Jane, don't forget, spectators are free.
Yeah,
Top
good point.
Yeah, spectators are free. It's a top 30 show, only $20 for fees, 15 specialty awards, and Welch's Chop Shop is absolutely going to knock them out of the park. So make sure you guys go there, support the Extreme Lows guys, and help them, make this show a success.
Hells yeah. So, Mike, we've got 2 more shows that we'll kind of touch upon here. Now, they're a little bit further out, but Bayou Showdown is a part of the Custom Car Show Productions family. So, on Instagram, it's easy. It's BAYOU Showdown Show all together, no underscores. And that's the car, truck, hot rod, lowrider, bike show. That's in Harbor Center, the Harbor Center, Slidell, Louisiana, November 15th through the 17th. Now, I do know that that's before Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving this year is, I was looking it up the other day because my birthday is in November, my born day. And the good news is, if you look at the calendar, Thanksgiving is not until the 28th. I think it's one of the latest that can be in the month. So, some people are going to be like, oh, it's the 15th, it's the middle of November, that's hard for me. It's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, so don't let that be a deciding factor on, oh, I can't make it out there because of. If you've got the time, maybe take Friday off work, cruise over there, and check out the show, Bayou Showdown Show on Instagram, or search Facebook Bayou Showdown.
Absolutely, and don't forget our boy Damian Davis and his badass Nissan Frontier is on the flyer for Bayou Showdown, and of course, it's sponsored by Sparkles Detail, the clean team that supports the scene.
Hells yeah. And then last but not least, we got Lone Star Throwdown.
Yes, sir. And guys, Lone Star Throwdown, the Mac Daddy of them all. I think we've talked about this numerous times, but one of the big things that you guys need to know is the pre-registration, because everybody knows pre-registration is only 2,000 vehicles. And usually when they open up the pre-registration, those 2,000 vehicles happen like overnight type shit. So, guys, Lone Star Throwdown 2020, it's going down Conroe, Texas, at the Lone Star Convention and Expo Center, February 21st and 23rd through the 23rd, 2020. The pre-registration is going to open up in August. So just stay tuned. Make sure you guys go to their event page. And you're going to see there's tons. I don't know why people do this. I have no idea. But the actual official event page actually says the official event page because there's so many other people that make Lone Star Throwdown event pages. But there is one, and it actually will say the official event page. So make sure you guys go there, hit the going button, and stay tuned because Radar and Lonnie will announce when they are going to open up pre-registration, and I know it will be in August.
Yeah, it's going to be quick, man, and it's going to go fast. So we're looking forward to it. Mike and I are already making plans to be out there to cover it. It's an epic car show, car and truck show. I've been once, and I really, really enjoyed it. Lone Star Throwdown is one that if you're in the vicinity or you're planning your vacation later this year for next year, make sure you take off those days.
Oh, you know it, brother. And hey, Jay, just before we forget, you can't forget, man, because it's going down this weekend, brother. This weekend, after hours, this is our friends Greg Miller and Sean Randall, Saturday, July 13th from 4 to 10. They're at Hank Aaron Stadium, Mobile, Alabama. Guys, make sure you're there. Nighttime show, after hours, sponsored by HMS and Metal Brothers there. It's going to have the top 25 trophies by Creative House, and our friends over at Egg Roll Hut are going to be there. So, and guys, just for entering your vehicle, you're going to have a chance to win $500 cash, courtesy of AA Transmission. So, guys, this Saturday after hours, if you're in the Mobile, Alabama area, check it out.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, I just tell everyone, go out there, leave a rating on iTunes, whether you're on your iPhone or you're on iTunes via the computer. We appreciate those that leave the rating. We'll also give you a shout out if you leave your Instagram name. So hopefully 5 stars, and then you can leave the review after that. So next, I've got a few updates that I'll share with you guys, which is only about a 10-minute, 12-minute segment, and then we'll roll into John Tondro's audio. So make sure you listen to the very end. We appreciate all of our sponsors, everyone sticking with us. Don't forget to follow SSBB_media on Instagram. And Biggity Mike, I think that's all I got, homie.
Hey, Jay, with that being said, Airhead Nation.
We got you. Be safe. Yo, it's ODB, and here's a few additional updates. You guys know how I do every week. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. Want to just start off here and just remind everyone, you heard me say it earlier, but go to mini-truckfilm.com if you at all are a mini trucker or you enjoy the culture. Maybe you've casually just found this podcast and you like the stuff we talk about. Go out there to mini-truckfilm.com, purchase the Blu-ray or DVD. There are other items for sale. Can't stress it enough. It's very cool. It's well put together. Radar, Todd Hendricks, who put it together, he put a lot of time and effort into it. So don't sleep on it. I know there's still copies available. Get out there, order it. It is awesome. Now, I do have just really a few updates this week, trying to keep these updates a little bit shorter and sweeter so we don't go too long each week. But the first one is an industry update, and this is on gmauthority.com. You guys know that I've been referencing the site a good bit. This was one that popped up this week. Chevy discounts all new 29 Silverado by 20% in July 2019. So at first, when I read the title, I was like, I know why. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the year. It had seemed that the sales were down a little bit, right, year over year. Now, I haven't went back the last I'd probably say it's been about 3 months worth of data. I haven't looked at it to see, what the numbers are year over year. But it basically, quote here says, Chevrolet Silverado sales decreased 8% to 142,464 units, with 1,500 model sales declining 5% to 109,930 units. The results are in line with expectations of the ongoing launch of the new Silverado 1500, which is nearing completion. With retail availability of the redesigned full-size half-ton pickups now improved as more body styles and powertrain variants are being manufactured. It goes on to say, and now a new Chevrolet discount lowers the price of select 2019 Silverado 1500 models by 20%, which in some cases equates to nearly $10,000 off. I bought my 2008 Silverado 2500 in December of 2008, and it was very similar. They obviously, the economy was much different then. There were a lot of challenges going on, and the bigger trucks weren't selling as much because of the fuel prices and things like that. In this case, if you're looking to buy a new truck, this is definitely a time to get in, go out there and check it out. Now, the catch that I kind of started to read through here is it does go on to say it's 2019 Silverado 1500 Crew Cab LT or RST. That's 0% APR, interest-free, for 72 months when financing with GM Financial. The discount's available through July 31st, 2019. And it goes on to kind of say a few other things where it talks about really the breakdown of it. I've also taken advantage of these type of deals, I think maybe on my truck, where I financed it with GM, and then like 2 or 3 months later, you refinance it with like your credit union if you're not paying cash for it up front. And then you basically get the benefit of all the discounts, and then you roll it over to, let's say in my case, my GTE credit union, and then boom, my payment was even a little bit less because I think the interest rate was less or something. Because mine wasn't 0% APR. It was just crazy discounts on the Duramax at that time. But go out there and check it out if anyone's interested in those new trucks. Okay, under the sports section, I'm just going to cover one. Mike and I, of course, covered the women's soccer earlier. But skateboarding, I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned this, but if you're not subscribed to Pal Peralta's YouTube page and you're at all a fan of the 80s, 90s, skateboarding, of course, then go out there and search Pal Peralta, Powell, Peralta. Hit enter. You will see the Pal Peralta channel there. They have just under 16,000 subscribers. The reason why I say this is they have uploaded all of their old videos. So the search for Animal Chin, Ban This, Public Domain, Propaganda, the Bones Brigade video show, Future Primitive, so on and so forth. They're very cool to go back and watch and reminisce. Some of them are a little hard to watch, right? Because it's, they're over 30 years old, but to me, it's pretty cool. There were a few, like Ban This. I don't remember seeing that one as a child, but I always loved the artwork. I actually have one of the original stickers of it, kind of a longer sticker, but very cool. If you're interested in skateboarding or just 80s, 90s, go out there and check it out. All right, last, and this is under the gaming, including retro gaming. For some reason, maybe my son is kind of spinning off on me that, as I mentioned before, I don't play a lot of games. However, I love the nostalgia of the old games, like many of us do of my age group. So, you may have purchased the NES Classic or the Super NES Throwback, so on and so forth. I really dig some of these guys that have channels on YouTube where they talk about the old games. And there's one guy in particular that does a fantastic job. I don't know how these folks, these peeps, find the time. This guy has 110,000 subscribers. He's got a great, what I call radio voice, and his videos are fantastically produced. I mean, really top-notch. But look up Classic Gaming Quarterly. He really breaks down from everything. I'm looking at his channel now. The launch of the Nintendo 64 in 96, the launch of the Genesis in 89, Sega Master System 86. His everything from the quality of the voice quality all the way down to the tie-ins and the knowledge and the research that he does. Where he finds some of the information, I don't know, but he does a fantastic job. So go out there and check those videos out. Now, the reason why I say that first is those are the type of videos that I'll sometimes, like before I go to sleep at night, I'll put those on and I'm like, I kind of get into it. They'll review some of the old Nintendo Power magazines or whatever. It's just cool shit. So I happened to, I was doing some stuff at the house earlier this week, and I had it just playing, and then it went into the next video. And there was a video that popped up, and I know I'm not so big into like the whole modding of the systems. Like I've had multiple video game systems over the years that have been modded, which is cool. Like on the Wii, you could plug in the external hard drive, and then you had access to, all of your, quote, backed up games, right? But, and then, of course, even back to the first Xbox, those were modded. You could have access to, like, every video game ever. So that's kind of where I got to. It played into this next video, and I knew that you can mod the NES Classic, but I just haven't really, I played it a little bit, and I'm just like, the cords are too short, and I just don't have a lot of time, so whatever. But the video that played was pretty damn awesome. If you at all are interested in modding your original NES Classic, it doesn't matter if it was manufactured this year or the previous year, you can do that. Now, I would warn everybody, just like as this gentleman warned you in his video up front, you can, you could potentially brick it, but he's never seen anyone really do that. And I watched the video, and it was pretty straightforward. So what I would say is you literally, and this is what blows my mind, growing up, I didn't have many NES games. It was like we had a few, and then you would switch them with your homies. We'd go to the video store, and we'd rent them, and that type of thing. So the video out there will basically show you step by step on how to mod it. And when you mod it, it basically doesn't give you the link, but you got to Google, and you can go out there and you'll land on some people that upload like a zip file or whatever that has literally every single NES game, And I know that for some people that mod stuff all the time, I mean, it's like nothing, because what's crazy to me is to think back in the day, I think those games were like $39, and the file sizes are so small that literally you just can move the file onto the NES Classic. You don't even have to have like a thumb drive or anything plugged in. And the user interface is pretty cool. It looks exactly like what you may have purchased if you bought one of these. Same UI. You just toggle through them. Then there's folders for the titles of all the games. So it's like A, to D and so on and so forth. You go in there, you pick the game. They even added, whoever did this mod software, they even added where you can go back to the original menu without having to hit the reset, reach up and hit the reset on the little NES Classic. But I say that because, again, it's pretty damn cool to me. I wish they would have put more games on it. I thought, that would have been pretty cool because it's like, man, really, like 25? That's like nothing. But it is what it is. There's a couple of games I remember playing as a child growing up that just really like struck a chord that I just love playing. And there's a couple of other. I'll mention one other video before I let you guys go here and roll into John Tondro's audio. But the video, you could probably search the title. It says "Add 800 plus games NES Classic Edition Mini 2019 Tutorial." I'm sure you could just Google NES Classic, add 800 games, right? Whatever. But this guy's channel is called ETA Prime. And it's well worth it because literally, I think when you use the mod software, you can select like if you want to keep the original games on there or it's going to just load them all anyways, right? But I think when you keep the original 25 games or whatever, those are like at the front of the UI and then you have your folders to go into. So like it could be some obscure game that you maybe remember playing as a kid. Like I don't recall playing the Goonies 2 game, right, which is a NES game. But, you have that. I remember playing Paperboy, right, as a kid, even though that game's probably so hokey now. Those little games like that, boom, right at your fingertips. So caution, of course, at your own discretion if you want to mod stuff. But I've done a few things like this in the past, and it's pretty easy, especially when you follow these super easy tutorials on YouTube. The only other video that I was going to mention that just popped up in my head was another pretty cool channel that I found was the top 10, or this guy's top 10 most underrated NES games. And then it says, please give these classics a chance. And this is altogether, it's Generation Gap Gaming, GAP Gaming. So he has about 31,000 subscribers. And again, another guy that I just stumbled upon where the videos are produced really awesome. This is a 14-minute one. Really cool graphics and things like that. Audio is awesome. And he talks about some games. I mean, some, to be honest, I never even played, Karate Kids in there, things like that. But he shows also, I love how they show the gameplay, like a little bit of the game. So it's not them just talking about it. Sometimes they'll pipe in the covers of the games and things like that. So again, if you're at all into nostalgia in terms of old school gaming, there's a lot of good channels out there. I just mentioned a couple, but hopefully you guys are doing well and appreciate all the support. As we talked about earlier, we got that pre-order that's coming up. The new artwork, cannot stress enough, is going to be epic. I really feel that. And the very few that have seen it were blown away. So we appreciate the support. Hopefully you guys will get in on that pre-order. We've got we've got banners, shirts, and then we'll have stickers as well. With that being said, enjoy this interview with John Tondro. It's really good. Touches on a lot of stuff, and appreciate you guys rocking with us. Enjoy your weekend and stay on the rise. ODB, we out. Peace.
Now, girl, I know you're used to the same old same, but we ain't floating that boat, no, we ain't riding that train. Hop on my rocket ship and let's get out of here. Let me put a little shimmer in your atmosphere. Now let's get out of this town, out of this club, girl.
Hey, and as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we've got Ruben, who's hooked us up with a special guest, John Tondro. And John, we just want to kind of start and say welcome to the podcast, man.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate your time, obviously, and Ruben has spoke really highly of you. I don't know how much you paid Ruben. Just kidding, but we're looking forward to kind of syncing up here, and really we wanted to kind of start with a little bit. Like, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Like, who is John Tondro?
Yeah, well, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. And Ruben and I go way back. I got into the mini truck scene back in the late '80s. Basically, I was in high school still at the time, and Ruben was a good friend of mine, and we just kind of hung out and did a bunch of stuff together, and yeah, just kind of, we were both kind of in the scene at the same time, and yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, really.
Yeah, and Ruben, so thanks, John. And Ruben, what are some of your early memories of kind of meeting John and things, like anything that comes to mind for you?
Oh, it had to have been maybe 89, 90. John was still in high school, and I'd been out of school for maybe a year and a half, 2 years or so, and I was dating a girl that John went to high school with. And I believe the girl that John was dating, they were friends. My girl I was dating, girl John was dating, they were both friends, and that's how I met John. And I think when I met you, John, I still had my CRX, and it was right before I got the Toyota, or I could have probably already had the Toyota. And John was a little younger than I was, but we hit it off. And he had the Nissan, the hard body, and it was red, and it was lowered on the 14-inch chrome wheels. And I remember you working at Vaughn's on Woodruff.
Yep.
There in Lakewood. And, we'd hang out and stuff and on the weekends and cruise and stuff. And John, I got to give you credit, John, because before I started hanging out with John, and I think I told the story, and I know I've told it to a couple of people, I wasn't really venturing off into Orange County that much. I mean, other than going out to Newport and Balboa Island, going down there just to cruise around and hang out. I mean, but I would never, ever go down and hang out at the cruise spots and stuff. And John was the one that kind of like showed me all that,
Yeah.
Like that part in Goodfellas when, Ray Liotta, says that's when I met the world. To me, that's when I met the world, was when John introduced me to that.
Right. Yeah. I remember I was in a club pretty early on. I think I was 17, might have been 16 actually. And one of my friends, his name is Craig, his cousin was actually in this club called California Extremes.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of when I really got introduced to the scene per se. Because I had read Mini-Truckin, and, I was always looking forward to the magazines coming out, and, always wanted to do stuff to my truck. And then I ended up going to one of these meetings, and I was like, wow, this is really cool.
There's like other people that like the same stuff you like and stuff.
It was organized, and they were planning to do stuff. And, I was still in high school, so it was like kind of eye-opening to see, how organized these clubs actually were. So I remember, starting to go to these weekly, and I remember hitting up Ruben, like, dude, come check this out. You gotta come see this. Like, and he's like, nah, I don't really like the clubs. Like, I'm not into that scene. And he was a little bit anti at first. Like, he didn't really open up to it until I think later. I think the California Extreme Club kind of disbanded, and then a few of us from that club ended up in California Cruisers. And then eventually part of that club turned into what is now Relaxed Atmosphere.
Well, what blows my mind is you guys are talking about, and I think back, Ruben knows I love the 80s, especially, I have a lot of fond memories of 88, 89. And what blows my mind is you guys are talking about stories like, a friendship that, you guys may not see each other all the time, but man, that's 30 years ago. It's crazy how time flies.
That is crazy. It's like yesterday, honestly.
Yeah, it's funny because we're friends on social media, on Instagram and whatnot. And the last time I couldn't even really tell you when the last time I saw John, but we were fortunate enough to be inducted into the Hall of Fame on the same night. And I knew I'd run into him, but it was kind of a surprise, and to see.
Yeah, that was actually an awesome night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was great to see, Doug Starbuck and Brian McCormick were there, and that's in that same induction, and it was cool. It was cool. It kind of brought it all back full circle,
Yeah, for sure.
And I highly look up to those guys. Like I read, Ruben knows, and the Airhead Nation knows that I, collect magazines, and I every month read about Brian McCormick and the editorials and Travis and a lot of those guys. But to me, it's amazing that. Like, we all kind of started in mini trucks, and we've all branched out to other things in life, whether it be, a lot of stuff that we've got to talk about with you, John, and then with Ruben, you've worked in different companies over the years, and I just think it's pretty awesome that like mini trucks, something when we were such a young age, 16 through 18ish, got us hooked into. Some of us have turned it into careers and things like that. So it is pretty cool.
It truly is. And, that first meeting that I went to that club at that Pizza Hut in off of Brookhurst and Lincoln,
Yep.
I met Mike Palm. I met Sean Mahaney, and then later on Lee Bauer, and, so on and so forth. All these people that have gone on and done other things, and, names that are synonymous with mini-truckin and, in the car culture. And, back then we were just punky little kids, playing loud music and driving little trucks. And, and now, these guys are longtime friends, and it's just really cool. It's just really cool to be a part of all this.
Yeah, definitely really cool.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, like when you were talking to Ruben, it made me think of a name that I remember seeing in trucking a lot was like Pete Santini, and you see, he got inducted, I think, into the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, and then, he went on to work. I think he paints stuff sometimes for Chip Foose, and you see his name on Overhaul, and it's just crazy how things have really just
I remember, Pete Santini was, almost, I don't even know how many cover trucks
right.
of trucking and mini trucking, between Pete Santini and Doug Starbuck.
Yes.
Those guys were the top of the game right there.
All right. To have a vehicle painted by either of those guys, it was back in those days, there was like a waiting list, and
yep.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, John, some of the old school mini truckers, they'll know your name, right? Maybe associated with this company called Stage One Customs, but you kind of laid the foundation when you kind of got hooked into mini trucking. How long between maybe you getting involved in trucks, like casually, right? Lowering them, rolling around with the homies, to the point that you started saying, okay, you know what? People are coming to us to want to do stuff to their trucks. Like, how did the whole Stage One thing form?
Well, it's a great story. So like I said, it goes back to when I was like 16, 17 in high school. I took a shop class in high school and, would do whatever I could figure out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I would just do it, on my own truck. And then pretty soon, other people started asking me like, hey, can you do that to mine? And, oh yeah, sure. No problem. So I, eventually started working on, guys that I went to high school with would
Mm-hmm.
bring their cars over to my house and I would lower them in, basically my driveway. And then through those clubs, I met Sean Mahaney, and Sean had Trendsetter, his shop in Anaheim. And he came to me one night. I think we were at a party or something and just kind of hanging out. And he's like, hey man, would you be interested in coming and help me,
Mm-hmm.
a couple days a week, or, whatever I could, whatever my time schedule would allow. Cause I was like still in high school and I had like a part-time job. And I was like, oh yeah, man, I'd love to, that was the dream job basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like
at
an
that
honor,
time,
right? Because you're a young cat and he's going,
totally.
hey man, you want to come, hang with me a little bit. I got you.
Yeah. Cause Trendsetter had a name back then. And, when you went to shows there, a lot of trucks had the Trendsetter logo across the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's who was doing like the really custom stuff back then. So yeah, I thought it would be awesome. And I was like, yeah, for sure. So I started working for Sean part-time and after school or on the weekends or whenever I could. And then eventually I just was like, I quit my other job and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to build trucks. That's all I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I just stuck with it. And, yeah.
So basically, like, it kind of is piecing it together in my head because I don't know the whole story. Like, he basically had his shop. So you go over there, right, and you're kind of like maybe part-time and you're doing your thing and you're really enjoying it. How long did that last? And then and Ruben, you may know, you probably do, like, does that shop then, because I don't think I ever asked Sean this, rest in peace, did he then close that and then it kind of, you guys formed something new?
Well, yeah, I can tell you exactly what happened. I was probably working with Sean for around a year and a half. And part of my internship, if you want to call it that, whatever, was he was, helping me build my truck. So we cut the frame off from the cab back, built the subframe, cut the roof off, made it a convertible, which my mom wasn't super stoked on at all.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And then, we were, doing our thing and going to shows and doing trucks and everything. And then I think he kind of started to be in a different place in his life where he wanted a little more stability. So I think he was looking for, I think he wanted to work for somebody instead of, having to worry about paying the rent, paying me, dealing with customers and, everything that goes along with owning your own business. I mean,
got it.
We had a blast together, and, it was one of the best times of my life. We did so much together, but eventually he ended up, he talked to somebody that we were actually doing business with CNC Hydraulics.
Okay.
I think they're in Montebello, and the owner of CNC offered Sean a job basically and said, hey, why don't you just, close your shop, come work for me. I'll pay you, you don't have to worry about anything. And I think at the time it was really appealing to Sean to do that. And I was kind of in the position where I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do?
Right, because you had this huge passion for it, and you could have almost appreciated
exactly. I had
to
just
kind of
gotten
move
a
on.
taste of it, and I was like, I wanted more. Like, I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep going. So I got with a couple of friends of mine, and we ended up. I came up with the Stage One name, and I just decided at that point when Sean told me what his plans were, I just knew instantly I have to start my own shop. I have to do this. Like I can't not do this. And so I just like I said, got with a couple of friends and got an investor. Robert Wilson was actually it kind of got me started. He got Stage One Customs going. He loaned us a couple grand, and I partnered up with my buddy Tom Lutz, and Tom was like painting cars on the side, and me and him became really good friends, and we just decided, hey, let's do something on our own, and that's how Stage One started.
Dude, that's amazing. So now, in perspective, I'm trying to remember, and Ruben, keep me honest, right? Because, I got a lot of mini-truckin issues, but, Johnny and Ruben, keep me honest, didn't Stage One, that was highly, like, there were tech articles and a lot of that stuff. Did you form a good relationship there with the McMullen Publishing and some of the magazines, or I'm trying to remember if I'm thinking correctly?
Well, yeah, the neat thing about Trendsetter was that we were literally a mile from McMullen Publishing. So like we would go to lunch with the editors. Like they would come to the shop, check out where we were doing. And from that I built relationships. But even before that, I mean, Mike Shartzis was in California Cruisers in the club that I was in. So the scene in Southern California was really tight. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and just location wise really helped with build those relationships. So we hung out a lot, and when they needed to shoot something for a tech article or anything, they would just hit us up and, hey, we want to do some pictures, can we cruise over? And they just pop up in the shop, and we do pictures and do mods on a truck, and they would photograph it and everything, and then the next thing it's in the next month's issue, which was awesome because it was like, I'm still in high school and I'm in these magazines, and all like kids at school are like, dude, how did you get into this?
Yeah, you're like,
I was
man,
like, I don't know.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, and it was also awesome. It was an awesome part of my life too, because when you're that age, you don't really know better, so you don't really have any fear of failing. And so when I started Stage One, I was 19.
Wow.
And I knew nothing about business really. It was just kind of, I just winged it, and it ended up working out. And thanks to like all of the other clubs and people that I knew and relationships I built. I mean, they were willing to bring their trucks over and let me cut them apart and make them cool. And,
exactly, cut up the trucks they're making payments on and stuff, which is still awesome to me.
Totally.
Yeah, Ruben, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, well, it didn't. It also helped. You were right across the alleyway there from Doug Starbuck, and there were a couple other little shops there in that same little business complex. And
that's right. Yeah, that was a big part of our starting stage one, was finding the right location. And we found a shop right across from Doug Starbuck, and we thought, well, what better place could we be than straight across the, looking at the back door of one of the best painters in the business. So that was kind of a no-brainer, and that's where we opened the shop.
Yeah, and so obviously you kind of laid the foundation, but something that's always interesting to me, and I'm sure to the listeners, is how do you come up with a name like that? So you're obviously pretty young. You already worked a little bit with someone that becomes legendary, with Sean Mahaney, right, in the mini-truck world. Were you just sitting there one day in school and you're just jotting something down and you're like, I don't know, stage one? Was there any particular meaning behind the name?
Yeah, I mean, I think I took a notebook and I just started writing down different names. And I kept thinking it's got to be something that's easy to say, and when you say it, people are going to know exactly what it is. Boom. It's simple, and it makes you think of what we do. And I ended up just crossing out names I didn't like, and the name Stage One just kind of stood out because it was and I thought, okay, people take their truck to Trendsetter. I'm going to Trendsetter. It was easy. It was easy to say and easy to remember. And then, so I would kind of verbalize that. I'm going to Stage One,
boom,
and that.
Yeah. It's like I'm wearing some Air Jordans. I was showing my son last night some of the old Air Jordan, ads from the '80s, and it was crazy. It was just it was so iconic that it was hey, you put the shoes on, you can dunk, almost, right? So to your point, it was almost hey, you come to Stage One, you're getting your shit done,
Exactly, and I knew nothing about branding or anything like that. it worked though, and pretty soon. We would start going to shows, and there would be a dozen or more trucks with my sticker on their truck instead of Trendsetter kind of went away, but then Stage One kind of really took over the scene a little bit there. So that was pretty awesome to see.
And Ruben, what were some of do you remember some of those days when the transition kind of took place when Sean moved on? Or how far were you living from those guys, and did you still slap hands at shows and stuff?
Oh yeah, well again, back in those days, I was kind of all over the place, and John, I was still living at home in Long Beach with my parents, and it was on a good day without traffic, I was still over an hour away from where Stage One was at, but still, if I needed something, John would always help me out, and so regardless, you'd always see the Stage One logo on vehicles, and at that point in time, there really wasn't too many shops in the area doing that type of work. You had the chop shop Brian Gendro out in San Diego, and I think at that point in time he was Temecula.
Escondido area.
Escondido. Yeah, and but other than that, when Sean went to go work for Sam at CNC. He wasn't doing much of any of the fabrication stuff. He was doing a lot of lowrider stuff, but yeah, John, you had the game pretty much wrapped up, and
I was pretty lucky because Dan Marchese that had the red Nissan, if anybody remembers, that was in the BFG ad.
Yeah,
it was a pretty famous truck. It worked out where I was, helping Dan with his truck, and his truck ended up on the cover of Mini-Truckin right about the same time I was opening the doors on Stage One. So exactly the moment I was opening Stage One, I already had a truck on the cover of a magazine with my logo on it. And that kind of really propelled us into, being legitimate,
Yeah. Imagine like today, if you transplant that story into you in 2019, you'd be like doing selfies all on Instagram, like crazy, but back then it was like if you had the magazines, I tell my son all the time, like we had Game Boy, like we didn't have internet, we didn't have email, we didn't have any of that stuff. Like you
No.
literally was like,
No.
your friends, and you had the magazine that you waited every month. So it's just crazy how, like, if you translated that to now, it would be like this big social media deal. But for you back then,
Right.
it was just like, man, dude, you've probably felt good.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day because we didn't have social media, we didn't have internet, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. I mean, our social media was the club scene, and I just remember, like, when you were affiliated with a club, you had their logo on the back window, and I could drive somewhere on the weekend to Orange County or Long Beach or wherever I was going to hang out, and you would always see other club members. You would always see, another truck. And then you always look to see, what club are they in?
Yeah.
And, usually you almost knew all these people by association or had met them at some point at a show or a cruise night or whatever. And then the big thing that started to be the happening place was the Carl's Jr. in Buena Park.
Yeah, and Ruben's talked about that before.
Man, that was just insane. Like, I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of mini trucks in one parking lot every weekend. That was what the whole club scene did in Southern California. Every Sunday, they go to their meetings, talk about what shows they're going to do, plan their events, whatever. And then you go to Carl's off Beach Boulevard in Buena Park. And so you would, you'd cruise in there with your whole club, and then you just kind of hang out, and then every club would start piling in there, and it was a sight to be seen. It was like a show every weekend. It was freaking awesome. I mean, there's nothing like that today.
No,
and
it would be like you'd start having panic attacks if you saw the police roll in.
Right? Yeah.
But
Yep.
it was just there's no way to describe it. I mean, it was just insane.
Yeah.
You'd have a couple thousand people there.
Yeah, and I tell my son all the
easily,
time.
every weekend.
Yeah, what's crazy is if you think about it too, like none of us, most of you guys weren't rolling around with like, point and click cameras, right? So what's crazy to us today, or to me, is like, we have our iPhones or Android device, and we take so many photos, some we never even refer back to. But in those days, like some of us would just die to be like, man, I wish I had a couple photos from like those epic nights. And it's just we didn't have cameras like we do today, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of sad in a way that kids today don't have anything like that. Like I was thinking about that the other day, like that, we were like the clubs were like a family, and everybody was so tight knit, and like it was just a cool scene. There was no crime, and no, there wasn't violence or anything like that. Everybody was just hanging out. Everybody got along, and it was just a fun event to hang out at, and the camaraderie of everything with everybody was like, I don't know, I just don't see that many places these days, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's totally different today.
And I like the way you said it too, like how you said the clubs were kind of the social media. Like I've never, as basic as that may sound, I never thought about it like that. Like usually folks will answer, or the homies will say, yeah, the magazine was like what we waited for. But to your point, it's almost like the reverse. Like now a lot of us are like, DMing each other and texting and everything. And, even myself, and I know my son, like we're on our phones constantly, right? And we're trying to do better about that. But to your point, John, like back then, it was like our faces weren't in phones or Game Boys or whatever the hell. It was at a little hangout, and we were all talking. And I think that's how like a little bit of society has like definitely changed,
Yep.
It's crazy.
Totally.
We have these little computer devices that tell us where each other are at and all that stuff. And, I'm not against that stuff. It's just, it is crazy how it changed. And the other point that I wanted to bring up is, Ruben had, tied us in with Shartsis, and we had him on, and, I give a lot of respect and praise to him and some of the OGs. We've had many on from those early days. We'd love to eventually have Stillwell on and Brian McCormick and, rest in peace, Courtney. But what's crazy is like Shartsis' name, Ruben, continues to come up. And, it's kind of like the guy, I've seen there's a guy named DJ Ski, and, he was real big with DJing, and he kind of has moved into the culture stuff and music. But like you look back at these old like hip hop battles and stuff, like he was always like in the mix of like every big thing. But like Shartsis, almost like his name, like he was out there. He was doing what he had to do, going to shows, hanging out with guys, and then even before RA, when he started that and some of his tie in there, he was out there like just living the scene. And I just think it's cool how his name continues to come up on so many interviews, man. And respect out there to Mike Shartsis. Hopefully he's listening.
Yep.
Yeah, so good stuff there. But,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Mike was a big influence on me and a lot of people. I mean, he was, he was a big part of California Cruisers, and I was talking to you remember David May, Ruben?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, so I'm still very good friends with David May, and we still stay in touch. And he came up to visit me here a couple months ago. But he was one of the original members of RA. So I was asking Dave, like, I was trying to remember the original members, and it was myself and Dave and Mike Shartsis, and I think Eric Musgrove, I think, was in there. Do you remember some of the other guys that were there?
I believe it's Mike Palm.
Yep.
Sean Mahaney.
Yep, definitely Mike and Sean. I want to say there were like 7 of us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it started out. And now when I see stuff on social media, it's like I
how
have
big
no
it's
idea
got,
how many members there are, but
yeah,
it seems like it's pretty big, even still today.
Yeah, like last month.
That was something we started
like 30 years
almost
ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was crazy is like last month I was
30, sure.
I was up with Jason from Relaxin in the Park, Relaxin in the Park, St. Louis, and I talked to him and he was like, yeah, and he was talking about when their chapter was started like back in 2000, 2001. And then I think back to your point, like I sometimes have to count in my head. I'm like, wait, 20? I do the same thing. I'm like, no, wait, 30 years ago. Because I think 91-ish, Ruben, is when you were saying that was kind of started. And it's just crazy to me that there's so many guys. And some of them, obviously we've got more to talk about. Like, you kind of move on, but you stay connected to the automotive industry, so to speak. But it is awesome that, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention. That the reason why we love doing this podcast is, one, we're fans of the 80s and 90s and mini trucks, but it's awesome to kind of pay homage like the Mini Truck Hall of Fame does to people like you, John, and Ruben. It's just cool to be able to go back and talk about some of these things that, oftentimes are just distant memories in our brains,
Yeah, I'm lucky I can remember what happened yesterday, let alone 30 years ago. But, that being said and all, but I think we're really, in this club, Relaxed Atmosphere, I think we're really fortunate that it grew the way it did. And fortunate, like people like Mike that worked in the magazine and was able to travel, and, chapters were started. And, there have been clubs in the past that had that same growth, but they didn't, they didn't last. They just died out. And for some odd reason, I mean, this club has continued to grow, and we have chapters in Australia, we have chapters in Japan and Canada, and I see that continuing to grow. I mean, at one time, like back in the day, we had a chapter in Amsterdam.
Damn.
We had a couple guys out there, and that was before. Yeah, that was before internet. That was somehow they found a magazine somewhere and contacted Mike. So, I mean, it's
that's awesome.
possible. Yeah.
That's crazy to me that, a couple of us just kind of got together, and the way it started out was, the clubs that we were in at the time just it was kind of uptight, and it was kind of, there was drama and everybody was just kind of like, just relax, like let's just enjoy it. Let's have fun. And then, and then a couple of us got together and started this new club. And yeah, it's pretty unreal that it's still going today.
Yeah, I always say it's one of the top clubs still.
I remember I got invited by Eric Musgrove, and it was the same thing. I was kind of tired about the whole club thing, and I didn't want any part of anything. And he kept on, yeah, come on down, check it out. It's totally chill. And I'm like, all right. And I remember going to one of those first meetings at that McDonald's on Beach Boulevard, and I'm like, hey, this might work. And here I am, so many years later. And it's had its ups and downs, but what?
Like any club.
It works.
Definitely.
It works.
Which is funny to me because, like I said, when I first hung out with Ruben, he was like wanted no part to do with any club.
Now we get the real story, Ruben. See, all these years you've been saying you were the guy that started it and you were the nice. No, I'm just kidding. No,
so I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Good night, everybody.
Man, that's good shit.
No, that's awesome.
So talking about stage one, right? So then you get the start, and it could just be my memory, right? Because we know that Sean kind of moved on. Like, did you basically run stage one, or does Sean come back in the picture at some point, or how does the end of the stage one kind of go, if you will, if you're telling the story?
Yeah, me and Sean Mahaney, we made a clean break, and he did his thing, and I did mine, and I think I was at a time in my life where I really wanted to prove myself to, to myself and to the people that doubted what I could do, that I could make it. So, I was just on a mission to make it, whatever it would take to make it happen and make it work. Then, I worked countless hours and weekends and, did what I could to make it happen. And but yeah, Sean did his own thing, and then I think he ended up going to Master Image.
Oh, that's what I remember.
I'm not really sure what happened with CNC, but he ended up working at Master Image, and I was still going at stage one, and then we were kind of competitors again, and because CNC was more lowrider scene, and then we would run into each other at shows, and we were always good friends and super cool, and but yeah, I just put my head down and try to focus on what I was doing and try to make what I was envisioning in my head to happen, and then I was gonna mention another big name, Sean Carlson.
Yes,
he was a big influence on me as well. We were pretty tight friends, and he used to come to Trendsetter, and he was kind of doing stuff out of his garage, and he lived I think it was in Upland, which was I think about an hour drive away from Trendsetter, but he would come there and we would hang out, and he would come and buy stuff from us, buy some product, and do stuff out of his garage. And then when I started stage one, I remember running into him, and it just kind of popped into my head, I need this guy at stage one. I wanted him to be part of stage one, because he was one of the great, I don't know what you call it,
visionary.
He was totally visionary. He was way ahead of his time. He did things that nobody thought of. And so, I wanted him to be part of stage one, and he came over, and he worked with me and Tom for a couple months. We body dropped a Toyota at the shop, but eventually he kind of he pulled me to the side, and he's like, dude, he's like, I have to do my own thing. He's like, you guys are awesome, but he just was so independent. He wanted to make a name for himself, and I totally got that, because that's what I was doing. So, but he helped me out a bunch even after that, because he eventually became a photographer and an editor for Mini-Truckin, And some of the ads of mine that were in Mini-Truckin magazine, he would come to the shop and he did all the pictures for me. Like, he would come over, shoot all the pictures. He never charged me anything for it. Like, we would just hang out, go to lunch, and we were just good friends. So definitely a big part of my history right there.
Yeah, and Ruben, we've had a few guests on, and we want to do a tribute show to Sean later, or excuse me, to Sean Carlson later this year. And I had the opportunity just to kind of be in his presence one time at Nopi, and I know the name from reading the magazines, and I got a lot of respect for him. And rest in peace, man. He was definitely someone that was a visionary, and a lot of people looked up to, much like Courtney. So, thanks for kind of sharing that. What I kind of wanted to also just tie in is, I thought it was pretty cool that when you look back at Mini-Truckin and you look at the different eras, there's the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. It's got to be pretty cool feeling, John, to know that, shops, like we had Kerry Iacino on, and Kerry was at IF Customs, and he had a great cast, and many of those guys that went on to do cool things, right, and venture out. But Stage One is one of those names, much like Trendsetters, that was at the infancy of Mini-Truckin. It really did lay the foundation for a lot of the trucks, like you said, the Nissan from the BF Goodrich ads and the poster, I think it was. I mean, it's got to be a pretty cool feeling that you were involved and you were leading that at a young age.
Yeah, it definitely was, and to that point, it's kind of too bad that that some of the bigger companies and aftermarket companies and manufacturers didn't get more involved in the scene, because I think that would have really
propelled it more,
made a huge difference and propelled it. Yeah. And maybe kept it going longer than it did. I mean, I was just think about it now. There is nobody makes a mini truck anymore. Like
right.
None of the manufacturers.
They're like mid-sized trucks, every one of them.
You know what I mean? Like a Tacoma now is like $40,000, and it's like,
Right.
What 16-year-old kid in high school can afford that? They can't.
Yep.
And so we were at a time and place in life that was, it was awesome, because you could have a part-time job, and I mean, I was making $4.25 an hour my first job at Vaughn's grocery store, and
yeah.
I could afford my truck payment. I bought a Nissan hardbody truck, and gas was like 89 cents a gallon, and it was just fun. It was a fun time to be a teenager and grow up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, if you were kind of creating a timeline on a spreadsheet, so to speak, right, or a slide, basically kind of give us a high-level overview. So you got Stage One. Like, when does that kind of close down? And then, you've moved on. I don't want to spend all the time talking about the Mini-Truckin aspect, but you've obviously went on to do some really great things. I mean, that was a foundation for you at a young age. But what are some of the other things maybe you share high level with the Airhead Nation, man?
Yeah, for sure. So around, I think it was 1999 or 2000, was about 8 or 9 years into Stage One's existence. I came to a point where I knew I either had to borrow a bunch of money to put into it to make it grow bigger than it was, or I could sell it. And I had an opportunity to sell the business, and I ended up partnering up with California Customs, and I sold the company to them. Kind of merged the two companies. They took on my product line. We kept, making some of the air suspension parts and stuff that I was building, and we were, exporting cars to Japan, and doing mail order and doing all these things. Unfortunately, that deal didn't really shake out the way I thought it was going to. I lost a lot of money. They ended up going bankrupt without paying me what I was originally told that I was going to, end up out of the deal. So I basically pretty much lost everything and kind of had to start over. So I ended up, I worked at another shop there for a little while in Corona, and just kind of managing another shop. And probably about a year later, I started JT Advanced Suspension in Rancho Cucamonga, partnered up with, I don't know if people remember, but Empire Motorsports was big in the billet aftermarket scene, and I was good friends with Buck Bland, and he gave me the opportunity to kind of partner up with him and share some of his shop space, and he let me build stuff out of there, and I did that for I think a couple of years, and it was good. Like, it was a great environment, great people to work with, and did a lot of cool projects out of there. I built a truck for myself that was on the cover of Off Road. It was on the cover of Street Trucks. Brian McCormick shot it. It was on the cover of the Weld Racing catalog. Went to SEMA with it that year. Just did a lot of cool stuff. And then at that time, it was the off-road stuff was getting more and more popular in Southern California, and lifted trucks, and that was kind of where the money was at. So I just kind of followed, see where the market would take me, and I got a job offer to run, like, help manage SoCal Super Trucks. So ended up going over there. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and did that for a year, and then I got a phone call from an off-road race team because I was, doing some off-road trucks for magazines, and I had done a pre-runner for a friend of mine, and his brother was pretty much running the shop at Robbie Gordon Off-Road. And he gave me a call one day and said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody. Are you interested?" And at the time, I was living in like Marietta area, like Lake Elsinore.
Okay.
And they're in Anaheim, which, if you know Southern California very well, that's hour and a half, 2-hour drive.
Right, traffic's crazy
in the
there.
worst possible traffic in
If
Southern
you're
California.
lucky.
So I was like, it sounds really good, but no, I'm totally good. Like, I was making good money and everything was going great, and they just kept bugging me until finally I was just like, I'd probably be dumb to pass up this opportunity. I mean, this guy's like if I'm going to do off-road, he's like the top guy in off-road. I mean, off-road racing is synonymous with, Robbie Gordon. And so I went down there, I talked to Robbie, and he was super cool, and they all wanted me to work there, and so I started working there in 2005, and
Wow,
that's kind of
dude.
where my off-road career kind of started off.
Yeah, and give the listeners, I mean, it's not a topic that we touch on a lot, but like, I've seen some of the stuff, and it seems like there's a huge cult following with it. But like, if you were to have to give like a Reader's Digest version of what the off-road racing stuff is it just a guy that wants to go out there on the weekends? Or, I mean, obviously there's big sponsorships, but like, what's your kind of quick rundown of that whole synopsis of off-road racing?
Well, it's funny when you, because I came from mini trucking, I kind of relate everything to mini trucking.
Okay.
So to me,
that.
everything is mini trucking. Like when I go to a hot rod show and I see, 32 Fords and Camaros and, all these show cars, and they're all super nice and, badass cars, but I look at it and it's a mini truck.
Right,
Like,
okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but everything's a mini truck. You know what I mean? So in off-road, it's kind of, I mean, it's like mini trucking. There's the guys that have money, and then there's the guys that don't, that just like do it in their garage and do it for fun. And off-road is the same way, like, but it's on a whole nother level. Like, you got guys that are racing that are, they're worth billions of dollars. Like, they do it for fun. That's their adrenaline rush. They do it for the pure thrill of it. So, there's no money to win an off-road. And, people ask me that all the time. Like, we spent all this money to go to Mexico and race the Baja 1000, and, we take tons of people, and it's a huge effort. I mean, on a scale, like, people I've worked with people in NASCAR, like we take them down there and they can't believe, the logistics and just how much effort it takes to run a professional race team in Mexico. And, there's everything from that down to, the guys that are racing the stock Volkswagen Bugs, that are building it in their garage and, just take a couple of their buddies down there and, it's all about the fun. There's no prize money. Like if you win the Baja 1000,
it's like a resume type thing.
Yeah. You might win $5,000 or $10,000, but it costs $15,000 in race fuel to even race the race.
Right.
So
yeah.
So it's
so
like,
you put it in perspective.
You know what I mean? People do it for fun. It was the same as mini-truckin. Like,
Yep.
People didn't do it because they were going to win money. Like we went to the runs because it was fun and we could hang out with our buddies and we could tell stories and have a good time.
Yeah, I agree. Like sometimes it was like, you could kind of one up your buddy and say, hey man, like Ruben, like I got more chrome than you do or whatever, but
right. Yeah. It's a competition. I mean, it's the same thing. Like you're going down there to race to beat, the guys on the other teams, just like you're going to a truck run to a show and you want to show off your truck and, you want to win, first place in your class or whatever.
John, don't you drive as well?
I don't drive racing. Most of the driving I do is testing.
Okay. I thought
so. I
navigate.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get to race. The cool thing about what I do is, like I said, they're like the guys that I've raced with are, they're millionaires. They have tons of money. They throw a lot of money at the sport. The trucks we race are, $500,000-$600,000 for the race truck. Damn. And, we bring, the team I was with, Terrible Herps. I mean, we would bring 90 people for support to the Baja 1000. But the cool part about my job was that I actually got to sit in the passenger seat with Troy Herps and ride in the truck in the race and tell him where to go and what to do. And, it was just like, and I'm getting paid for it. So it was,
that's pretty
talk about
ass.
dream jobs. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. It was,
wow.
Yeah, and
definitely.
I would tell people, we hear people all the time talk about, they took a hobby and they made it a career and stuff, but I just love to hear the stories where like you started at a young age and your work ethic kind of got you through even from a young age up to 10 plus, around 10 years or so at stage one. And then, you kind of, it sounds like you took a few leaps of faith, right? Throughout your career, you're like, they're kind of bugging me. What, I'm going to go over here. And then that led, and it's kind of like a stepping stone. And you kind of went up the rungs, I think it's called, like in the gym when the guys are doing the things. It's like, I watch too much American Ninja Warrior, I know. So it's like, they got the rungs and you kind of go up. But like you kind of move up to a point where, you're comfortable and you're like, hey, I'm enjoying life and I'm doing what I love to do. So I love to hear those stories because as much as we can talk about it, like the average guy, like just kind of just goes to work and he's got his cell phone on his little hip thing. And, he's just like the no offense, the dorky dads, and they don't get to experience some of this stuff. So I just love to highlight the stories and see the success, man. It's pretty cool, John.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I just always felt passionate about what I do. And, I just kind of, followed my dreams, and that's kind of, I think a lot of people should do that. Like, sometimes it's tough, but, if you know what you want to do, just go do it. Just, set yourself a goal and go that direction. And, it'll get you far. It'll get you a lot farther than you can imagine. Because I never dreamed, like, I mean, going back to when I started getting into off-road, like there were, videos of these races and these trucks, and it was like, holy crap, man, these machines are like unreal. And then, to go from that to actually being at the races with these guys and then building and being in the race and getting all these experiences, it's just it's been a heck of a ride.
Well, you guys are gonna laugh. This was my first forte into off-road, and I was watching some videos the other day, and I was like, yeah, man, this is my street cred. Who remembers the Nintendo game, Ivan Iron Man Stewart's?
Oh,
the
yeah.
NES game. And I was like, I remember playing that in the arcade at the local bowling alley, and I thought it was like so cool. You get the nitros, and you hit the button, and you're like jumping the ramps. I couldn't steer this shit. But, dude,
Yep.
I mean, back in the day, that was
I
like
remember,
off-road.
yeah.
Like, that's how, like, a lot of us at a certain age are like, oh, that's what off-roading is.
I put so many quarters in one of those, I could have bought one.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Only if we would have had some coin-op games back in the day, man, we'd be, just sitting on a yacht somewhere. But,
yeah, totally.
dude, it's so many good stories, man. When I think of the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, there's so many good guys and that are in it. I think there's going to be more that are going to continue to get kind of, patched in, so to speak, to it. But, Ruben, I know we've talked about a lot. What else is on your mind that you want to kind of pick John's brain before we wrap it up, homie?
Oh man, you know what? I think we covered a lot here. He answered a lot of stuff that I was going to ask him. Actually,
I know, right? I was like, damn,
yeah.
An hour goes by quick,
I was just sitting here quiet, but I can't think of anything. John, you did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks, man. It's been cool. I'm just sitting here chilling in my garage, and it's almost like we're all just hanging out in the garage and drinking beers and.
Dude, you nailed it.
Working on stuff.
In the early days of the podcast, Brian from Grinder TV told me, he goes, "Yo, Jay," he goes, "just got to talk a little slower and pretend you're just in the garage kicking back," and that's what we've been doing, and it's been a good formula, and we just love doing it, right? It's kind of like off-road racing. There's not a lot of money in this, but we love doing it, and it's just something that we enjoy. But I wanted to say thanks again. Let's say someone's listening, right, John, and they go, "Man, I want to see what John looks like, or I want to see what cool shit he's into, this off-road stuff, or whatever." How would they get a hold of you? Could they just look you up on social media?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram is J Tondro. Tondro, or on Facebook it's John Tondro, Tondro.
Boom.
And send me a friend request or add me on Instagram, and you can see some of the stuff I've been building the past couple years. I mean, I haven't had Instagram that long, but I think there's even a picture of the Nissan on my Instagram, and some pictures from the Hall of Fame when I was there with Ruben.
Hey, John, I got a question. What happened to the Nissan?
So after I left California Customs, I was working at a place called Action Auto Sports in Corona, and it was kind of a stereo shop, and we sold wheels and tires and did lifts and just accessories and stuff like that. I ended up selling the Nissan to the owner because he wanted something cool to have in the showroom to show off some of the stereo equipment. So, and it was perfect because the Nissan was, it was 4.5-inch body drop. It was all painted, all custom, and it was convertible. So it was all open. So, he wanted to, do the system up in it, do like a crazy stereo in it, and then just have it in the showroom to, for people to check it out. And, but that was the last time I saw it. I'm not sure what he did with it. I heard somebody said they saw it in Corona somewhere, but I mean, that was years and years ago. I have no idea what happened to it.
It's got to be out there in that area somewhere in a warehouse or something.
I would think so, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, well, we're going to dig up the old mini-truckins. I recently got a hold of some of the OG issues that I never thought I would own. And obviously I remember the ad, but we'll have to dig some up. I'll have to go back through some of them and take some photos to help promote this episode. But, yeah, good question there, Ruben. And it is crazy. You might have to ask in the there's a mini-trucking group on Facebook called Mini-Truckin' Where Are They Now? And it's crazy how trucks, even our friend Jason Weiss, his truck was tracked down from Florida all the way up in Washington State. And, well, it wasn't his
Wow.
truck, it was his buddy's, but his buddy had passed away, and they tracked it, and they had it shipped back, and it's crazy talking about the internet, what you can track down out there, even on your own, doing some investigative journalism there. So, but yeah, good stuff, John. Thanks for your candor, man. We wish you, like we do with all the guests, we wish you all the success, man. We'd love to see, some of the photos that you got out there, man. Life is good, and you're enjoying it, and you've come a long way, dude. And just stay, as we always say, stay on the rise, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right,
Good
man.
talking to you,
All right, buddy.
Ruben.
Hey, I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, man. All right, see ya.
Yo, so there you have it, John Tondro's interview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, Airhead Nation. If you're a new listener, please make sure you subscribe. If you like this episode, by all means, you're going to love the other 134 episodes. You can download Podbean on iPhone or Android and go back as far as you'd like. That's who hosts our podcast. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors. We typically do this at the end of our segment, but don't forget to subscribe to All Time Low Magazine. That's atlmagazine.com. HammerDWeekendWear, HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. They feature real builds on their clothing, including their best product, in my opinion, is their t-shirts, which we all love. Custom Car Show Productions, their next event is Sicknick. That's coming up next month. Look up SIKNIC on Facebook and Instagram. Lone Star Throwdown, get ready. Biggity Mike the Mayor said it. Later, sometime next month, is the anticipated time that they'll open the pre-registration for Lone Star Throwdown, which is in February of 2020. The West Coast Influence, you can go to mini-truckfilm.com, order Blu-rays, DVDs. There are some shirts left. There's a custom die-cast car. GarageGearClothing.com. They've got everything from mini-truck shirts to full-size pickups. Also, Sparkles Detail, the clean team that supports the scene. If you're at a show nationwide and they're there, have them clean your ride with those awesome Croftgate products. Feltham Fab, check them out for all your custom painted needs, including tumblers, awards, skate decks, you name it. So, FELTHAM_fab. Just a reminder, again, our heartfelt condolences go out to Jen Lacey's family and all of her friends throughout the mini truck and automotive community. We're going to roll out with an instrumental here, and it's I'll Be Missing You by P. Diddy, and we chose the instrumental just to keep it, totally legit, and pay a little bit of homage to Jen. Again, it's very moving to see all the folks that are posting photos and things like that. She did really impact a lot of people, and she had met a lot of people over the course of her time that she was, here with us and involved in the mini truck and the automotive scene. So rest in peace, Jen Lacey. You guys have a safe weekend and stay on the rise. ODB, we out. Peace.